Greetings, everyone. It's Eric Brown, MOBO-Media, MOBO-Media, MOBO-Media. Hey, I thought I'd hop on here and, once again, try to throw out a good topic for you to stew on. I always try to lean toward the feel-good type topics on this challenge. So this one I think is something that's pretty interesting. This is, what I have here is please assist the elderly. Please assist the elderly. And what I mean by that is the older population in America, for some reason, the culture here is kind of take the older folks and kind of, out of sight, out of mind, put them in a nursing home, forget about them, so on and so forth. But I've visited other countries and other, nursing facilities, and I've seen how they deal with the Asian population in other countries. And there's a significant respect for the elderly population in other countries, a respect that you don't typically find here in America. Don't get me wrong. There are folks out there doing a great job of, doing what they can for our elderly folks and assisting when they can. But I tell you, it's a stark difference between what happens here in America and what I've seen in some other countries. I've always had a knack for helping older people. Even when I was younger, I remember probably the age of 10. We lived next door to an older gentleman. And I would go visit this gentleman, just sit with him. I would sit with him, and he had mobility issues. I remember he had a cane and a walker, so I would do things for him, get him something to drink or something to eat, or just kind of help him out, And but it was fun because I would sit and watch football games with him. He taught me a lot about football. But the funny thing is, in hindsight, looking back on it, I realized that gentleman was a veteran. I mean, I could tell because of just the way he talked, the aura he had. He talked about things in other countries, and then it was just fascinating me at the time. But now that I think about it, I even think he even had a hat signifying that he was a veteran. But yeah, great gentleman. I remember another time when I was about 12 years old, when I helped out a lady across the street from my grandmother named Miss Rosemary. And this lady was literally bedridden. She was like a roller coaster ride, up and down, up and down. Some days she'd be good, some days she'd be bad. But toward the end, she was having some rough days, so she was bedridden. So I would go over, man, and help her out, cook her stuff on the stove like chili or whatever. I even helped change out her bedpan, things like that. Get things out of the cupboard for her. She was literally bedridden. So I always found that in those moments, there's a feeling that you just can't conjure up, man. I mean, it's a good feeling when you're helping others, particularly the Asian population, the elderly. I had a talk with my pops a couple of years ago, and one of the things he mentioned to me is that the old folks love it when the young folks help them out. They love when the young folks help them out. Unfortunately, nowadays, young folks, they're not as focused on helping out the older folks, but somebody has to do it. And I would ask you all, anybody out there, if you know of an older person, maybe your next door neighbor or, person you work with or whatever, always try to, lend a hand. Oftentimes they won't say anything because of pride. But I tell you, just like my dad said, they love it when folks help them because things are fast nowadays. Things are moving so fast, and you'd be surprised the number of old people that don't know how to Google and use cameras on phones and, use text messages on phones. You'd be surprised. And, to me, I think there should be a lane of communication just for the Asian population, whether it be, dumbed down versions of the communication that we have now. Just not so technical because it's above their heads, and they're at the age, they're not just going to pick this stuff up so easy. So, yeah, helping the older people, the Asian, there's nothing like it, man. It's just a great feeling. And I tell you, another thing you get from it is you get an opportunity to be educated or learn some things that you probably wouldn't learn anywhere else. Because I tell you, they like to tell stories, and they like to share their experiences with you. And so I've always been a good listener. I've always been fascinated by other people's stories, their lives, their journeys. In the midst of me trying to mold my own journey and mold my own direction in life, You know, it's always good to pick up things from others and just to listen to others. And the old people love it to just for somebody to just sit with them, have company with them, and that's what I did quite a bit, just keep them company. I remember when I worked for a state agency, we have what's called a veteran state homes, Texas State Veteran State Homes in the state of Texas, and other states have them too. And what they are, they're long-term care facilities for veterans. So they're nursing homes for veterans, basically. And I was a management analyst there, and I loved it. I loved it because I got to talk with some of the older veterans, and I also got to implement some much needed change based on what some of these older people were telling me. You know, oftentimes the staff in those homes, they don't, I hate to say it, they could care less about the residents in the home. All they care about is getting that paycheck and going home. So my job was to make sure those folks were taken care of. But I never forget, man, I ran into a gentleman in the hallway and I just struck up a conversation with him. And it was really time for me to go. I was there on a visit, on what's called a site visit. So it's about 4 o'clock, so it was time for me to head. That was about the time I got off work. My shift ended, so it was time for me to leave the nursing facility. My site visit was over. But as I was leaving out, I ran into a gentleman that, like I said, we struck up a conversation. And man, I just love hearing them tell their stories. He was in a wheelchair, and I knelt down beside him. You know, he was just a joy to be around. I mean, there was just such a positive energy coming from him. So I ended up leaving. Hold on for a second. Before I left, he said he was really happy because his son was supposed to come and visit him that evening, I guess around 6 o'clock or so. And he was really excited. And he literally parked his wheelchair at the front door, waiting on his son to come to visit him, which was, from what I understand, was not as often. And so he was really excited for the visit. Next day, I go back to the nursing home for the veterans for a second day of the site visit. It was a 2-day site visit. So on the second day, I go back. And when I come through the front door, what do I see? I see this older gentleman that was in a wheelchair that I was talking to the day before that was waiting on his son. He was right there as you walk in the door, like next to the reception desk. And I noticed he had just a really disheveled look about him, just a sad look about him. I don't want to say disheveled. It wasn't disheveled. He just had a sad look about him. So I went over to him and said, "Hey, what's going on, mister?" I can't remember what his name was. And he said, "Oh, Eric, I'm good." So long story short, he was really sad because his son never came to see him. It tore him up. His son never came to see him. And that let me know that, much too often, our older population, we just kind of throw them in these homes and we just forget about them. But they deserve the opportunity to live their golden years with respect and dignity. And so I truly believe that. But I really felt for this gentleman. And the next time I heard about the gentleman, I guess about maybe a year and a half later, the next time I heard about the gentleman, one of the workers, I inquired about him. She said, "Oh, Eric, he passed away." And it broke my heart. All I could think about was that, him not getting these visits probably, contributed to him leaving this earth a lot faster. He probably just, what does he have to live for? He doesn't have family, you know what I'm saying? The nursing home, don't get me wrong, they do a great job with these homes, but there's nothing like home. There's nothing like home. And so, like I said, I encourage everybody, please, let's pay attention to our older population, the aging, the elderly, whatever you want to call them, because they do matter. They matter, and they may look old to us now, but trust me, at one time in their lives, man, they were doctors and lawyers and carpenters and engineers and homeowners and family men, and it's just that life just kind of they rode that wave called life, and for some it's not easy toward the end, especially when the folks around you die off. They die off before you do, and you find yourself living a long life. A lot of people want to live a long life, but one thing they don't realize is that a long life also oftentimes ends up being a lonely one, because the things you're used to, the people you're used to, they've died off. They've died off, and so you kind of a lot of loneliness sets in. And I've seen this for myself. I've seen it for myself. I've seen older people who've had no more family. They've all died off. The wives, the kids, everything, and they're just. It's like something missing out of their soul. Something missing out of their soul. Hey, with that, I'm going to end this, but I just thought I'd get on here and talk about, our precious elderly folks, the aging population. And, the baby boomers are getting older as well, by the way. So those numbers are certainly increasing. The need is increasing. So I know my plan for the future is try to get more involved and do what I can for our aging and our elderly. With that, I'll let y'all go. It's been nice. Please subscribe to me if you have not subscribed to the channel. Please like to let me know that you like some of the things I'm talking about. Let me know that I'm doing a good job or not. But definitely subscribe to me. Things are starting to take off for me. Got big plans for the channel. And I set a goal for myself. I said, well, when I hit 5,000, that's when I'm just going to blast off. But to me, that's just procrastinating. I'm saying, why do I have to wait till I hit 5,000? Why not go for it now? So with that, I'll let y'all go. Thank you all again. Please subscribe. Eric Brown, MOBO-Media. And MOBO stands for my grandmother, MOBO Brown. Yes. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.